Hello, it's me. I decided to show my face tonight and tell you a little bit about what I've been working on at my art table, and then we'll go to the art table and I'm going to do a little journal with me using some of the things that I'm going to show you here. I have sitting beside me. So I decided to participate in the Gelli Arts March Printing Challenge. It's day 5 today. It's only been going for 5 days. If you want to jump over there and look at the challenge, I'll leave a link. I've been doing a monthly challenge since December, and I decided not to let that momentum go, even though I'm also doing the 100-day challenge right now as well. So I've just had this overwhelming urge to just create, and I feel like having a daily creative practice is key for me, just like my sleep, my eating, my fitness, my meditation, journaling, all of that. It's just practice, and so having that daily challenge is helpful for me. I'm just going to show you some of the things that I've done, and some of this has already been cut up. I was going to do some work in my journal, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to film this. So day 1 was birds. I did some pulls on my Gelli plates with birds. This is, I used a stencil from Megan Quinlan, I believe is her name. I'll link the stencils on her Etsy shop. I have a couple of sets of her stencils. They're really fun. And then I did this, which I wasn't really pleased with the outcome, but I took a paintbrush end and drew some birds and kind of made this little scene. So not super happy with it, but you know, that's part of what this challenge is for, is to experiment and learn and figure some things out. So that was birds. Day 2 was circles. I had a lot of fun with this challenge doing some circles. I used some tissue paper and some mark making tools. This is transparent behind those circles. I don't know if you can see that. This is a parchment colored paint, and I used cork for the middle, and I used a round tube, like a tape cardboard tube, and I love the results here. And I also did 1/2 of it just on regular paper. You can see kind of how that shows up maybe a little bit better with the white and the parchment. I thought that would make a really pretty collage material. And then I also used a coffee filter because it is round, obviously. This was just a lid that I had in my mark making stash to make these colors. So that was circles. Lots of collage material, which I love. Can never have enough, right? Day 3 was crayons, and I have some crayons somewhere in this 500 square foot cottage that I live in, but for the life of me I could not find them. So I opted for my Neo Color 2 pastels. So I saw a little tutorial that Gelli Arts actually shared on their Instagram. Her name's Nadia, lives in Seattle. I follow her on TikTok and on Instagram, and she's awesome. Her prints are fantastic. She showed this method to use crayons to pull a print. So I tried that, and it was a total fail. So I tried again, and I used this magazine image. This is where I originally tried to transfer the crayon onto the Gelli plate. You can see that it has a lot of markings and paint over it, but this was the image that I was using. So I ended up on just a piece of white paper, freehanding the image just in a simple line drawing, thinking that I would try that and that it might work. Well, it did not. However, I did it over this yellow paint, and I actually love the way it turned out. So I'm gonna use this in my journal. It's not the look that I was going for. It's not the method I was trying for, but it turned out great, so I'm gonna use it. So that was crayons. Okay, day 4 was pattern. I got really carried away with patterns, and I could have kept going. So I am in fodder school. In February fodder school, Lucy Duclos did some really cool foam stamps. She showed us how to make some stamp rollers and some different things. Well, I was a little behind in fodder school, but I had made my rollers. I haven't followed through with the rest of the month's project. But I decided to use my rollers for patterns. Oh my goodness. I love the results. First one that I did was this rainbow. I made a rainbow stamp. This is the results, and I'm in love. Like, I love this pattern so much. This is probably my favorite because it has this really pretty ombre effect to the pattern. This is, I mean, this is just, this is what I strive to do in my art making. is something like this. I love it so much. There was 2 of the pages. This is another one of the rainbow patterns that I made on tissue. This was another one of the pages that I made. I love this one too. Then I made this foam stamp that made a herringbone pattern, and I just did it in black, and I did 2 pages. I could not love this anymore. This is just, this is why I make art. I love this. I'm gonna use that. This was another one using the herringbone pattern. And then this was just a random page that I cleaned my brayer off and also cleaned my rollers off. So it's kind of interesting. This was another pattern that I loved, and I did 2 different colors, and kind of, it almost looks like a duotone. I stuck with the warm tones of paint. So I used pinks, oranges, yellows. It's also spring, so I've been in a real springtime mood, and these colors just say spring to me. This was a print that I pulled off the Gelli plate. I pulled it twice in 2 different directions with that same stamp, same pattern. This was a print that I pulled for 2 different patterns, and I really like that. The first one that I pulled was the warm tone paints, and then I did the black over it. What a cool background that will make in a journal, and also use it as a journal page in a signature. So we'll see. I again got very carried away, and I think there's some others that I didn't even bring to show in this video. So patterns, that was fun. Today's prompt, day 5, was feathers. And I have a feather at my art table that I used the quill for mark making. I just got it and used it on my Gelli plate. This was one of my prints that I made. This was the first one that I pulled. You can see that I moved to blue and yellow, which obviously made this green color. So that's just the mix of the blue and yellow on the Gelli plate to make that green. I love this. This turned out really well. I obviously put this print over the feather while it was on the plate to leave the negative space of the feather. Then on one of the other pulls, I had just a real faint ghost image of the feather. So I actually laid this back over to get just the faintest black feather on there. It's kind of hard to see up here, but you can see the quill down here. So I like the way this turned out. This was a total and complete fail for the record. Oh, here's one of my other patterns that I did for the pattern pull. This is my other feather that I did. I used some bubble wrap to make this circular pattern, and I used gold paint over the bubble wrap. I like these. I like the feather prints. They're really pretty. There's my first 5 days of the March printing challenge. It's not too late to jump on. I think these types of challenges, sometimes we get in our own heads and think that we have to do them in order and on the right time frame. That's just not the case. You can go to these prompts anytime and kind of get your creative juices flowing, gives you some ideas, gets you at your art space to create. We're gonna make some journal pages. I'm gonna work in this art journal. This has been one of the art journals that I've worked in, I think, since last summer. And I've worked pretty well in this, and I'm to the last signature. There's a few pages that I will probably go back in and work on some more, but this is the page that I thought about for my bird. So I had already cut this bird out to use on this page. I also had this negative image from a session that I did a few weeks ago where I just did some stencils or some freehand flowers and cut out for some just different focal points and pieces of fodder to use. And I was going to use these together. And then this one does have a little bird on there, but it's pretty nondescript. So I decided that I would put that behind that. Let's do it. I'm going to just clip that down a little bit. And get my handy dandy glue stick. I use the Oohoo for certain things. I also use crocodile glue. It's either crocodile or alligator. I can't remember. I learned about that glue actually from fodder school lessons that Wendy Salganic talked about. And I think she actually learned it from another creator. But I did buy some. And her idea is you buy the bottle of it, and then you get these little fine tipped metal containers, and it gives you a really fine flow of glue, and the glue is really good. I've had no problems with it whatsoever. I'm just gonna trim, use my larger scissors. I have pretty recently bought this larger pair of Tim Holtz scissors, and I don't know why I waited so long. They're really good. These are, I think, the 9.5 inch. I've had the 7 inch for a while. They're great scissors. I think I'm just gonna go in and put this on this page. Thinking that I'll do that, but I also believe I would like to incorporate some of this pretty circular tissue paper. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna tear it. And we're gonna just pull this all the way across the page. Let's get some matte medium. We're gonna use this. So it's finally spring. I am so incredibly happy about that. This weekend really gave me the spring fever. And it's also supposed to get cold again. I'm in Arkansas, and our weather is typically pretty unpredictable. But I actually hiked this weekend, and it was so pretty. I hope the weather is doing what you want it to do wherever you are. I have also started a TikTok channel, and I am really enjoying making content on that channel. In fact, I'm sharing each of these jelly print making sessions over there. I need to also share those to my TikTok shorts. I've just started posting my TikTok shorts, and I'm just trying to get the hang of it. I do post on Instagram as well, but I have not posted a whole lot on TikTok, or I'm sorry, I think I said TikTok shorts. I meant YouTube shorts. That's where we are, right? We're here on YouTube. But I always enjoy longer content, and I've really started following several creators that do the journal with me videos, and that is something that I just like to have on when I'm either crafting or cleaning or maybe doing something else that I don't really have to think too much about. And they're really good. I've got several that I follow. The Unexpected Gypsy is one that I've followed for a while. Her name's Wendy also. She's really good, and there's something about her that is so soothing to me. But there's several others that I've recently started following that I also enjoy. If you've got some favorites, please leave them in the comments. I always enjoy having new things to watch, new people to follow. If you've got a channel and you do any of the journal with me, let me know so I can follow along. There's something about getting to know people just in their day-to-day lives that's kind of fun. Okay, there we go. I like the way that looks, and I really love this tissue paper with the transparency, with a pattern where you can see what's going on underneath. Just had the best idea. We need to use this feather over here. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's tear this. I'm just gonna use a straight edge to get some of this bulk off. I'm gonna come over here and take part of that off. Oh yeah, this needs this. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and tear this because I don't want that super straight edge. I also don't want to lose my feather. So we'll do it like that. And then we're just gonna tear it. I think we'll put it in there like so. Again, I find that if I think too much about these art journal pages, sometimes I have overthinking brain and I won't start. It's like I'll let it paralyze me. Analysis paralysis is what I like to say. But if I'll just start and start putting some things on paper, it really always turns out better. So I like that. We've got some good colors happening. I really feel like I want to incorporate something else in here. Okay, I think I'm going to use a piece of this tissue. Oh gosh, I've made a mess over here. See, I get too many things happening sometimes. Just going to tear this and I'll put this on. And I always get matte medium all over my fingers. We're going to tear this off a little bit. And again, I just love the way the tissue disappears into the background. Okay, I think we need a little more paint. Do we dare introduce another color or stick with what we've got? I'm gonna put a little bit of this white India ink and see how we like it. Set that there. There we go. Try to not get that to run as much. I just really want it to kind of spread a little bit. I don't want it to run all the way down my page. That propped up, so hopefully that will dry. I want to come back to it and see how I feel about it tomorrow. I will turn the camera back on and bring you along with me. It took me a little more than a day to get back to this spread. It's been a wild week, and I really just did not have the time to spend working on this page, but I'm back now, and I am going to use my India ink here. It's a turquoise. It's a pretty dark blue, and I'm going to letter on this deli paper a quote. And hope that it shows up. I like to use this little fine liner brush and ink in this way. If you saw my Art Journal Advent book, I did this a lot. And per usual, I got out way too much ink. And so I'm gonna find something to use that, because I do not like to waste paint or ink or any kind of media, wet media like this that can't be reconstituted. Like watercolor, you know, you can just re-wet it after it's dry and still use it. But this India ink, not so much. We're gonna go ahead and use that. But this is my quote. We'll let that dry. What good are wings without the courage to fly? And I think that'll be a pretty quote in there. So once that is dry, we'll adhere that to the page. In the meantime, while that is drying, we're gonna go ahead and use this ink on our page. Why not? We'll use it for some mark making. Just always gives it a lot of different depth and dimension to add marks randomly on your spreads. If you're a doodler like I am, that is the same, to me it's the same kind of concept. And I like to do this whenever I'm just watching TV or listening to a podcast or music or whatever. Get out a art journal spread and make some marks. We made these sort of square paint patterns in a few places, so we'll just emphasize those a little bit. Make some more marks over here to kind of draw the eye over with that detail on this page. Art journal pages and junk journal pages are not meant to be works of art, really, but it is a good place to practice composition and balance in your art. I don't always do that, I'll admit, but you know, it's just a good way to look at your composition as a whole and see if it makes sense. If that makes sense. Line this a little bit. With instead of a solid line, we'll just do a dotted line. Kind of looks like a little bit of a stitch line. And again, I'm not going for perfection here. In fact, I try not to go for perfect lines and detail. I do struggle with that. I struggle with trying to make it look some certain way. And like I said, when I started this page, I can overthink a little bit, and I need to practice letting go letting go of the control and just making, because that is what these pages should be about, is putting things on paper. And sometimes when I go back to a page that I've made, I'm like, how did I even come up with that? You know, what made me do that at the time? You know, what caused me to make those marks in that certain place? I want to kind of mimic this original page here, had circles on it. So, you know, you kind of want to bring that back. And then we've got these circles here. So, you know, you kind of want to bring a little bit of that back to the page. I went over the first 5 days of my March printing challenge. Well, since then, I've done more prints, and this was one of them. I did this on the day of the transparent challenge prompt, and I actually used one of my little hand-carved stamps that I did out of an eraser and made this print on my Gelli plate. This was actually the ghost pull that I did. And so I'm thinking I may put just a little bit of that down here in the corner. I think that would look sort of nice. Just to give it a little bit of, I don't know, a different type of interest down here. This yellow is gonna really pop through these stars, I think, because they're gonna be transparent. Yeah, I like that. In fact, I kind of feel like I need a little bit more. Not a lot, but I feel like that just kind of cuts off. So let's put a little bit more on there, right here. And that kind of gives him a little bit of grounding too, that bird. And it goes right into the circles. And then I'll tear this off, and I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. But first, I think I'm also gonna put some of this up here. Kind of cover that up a bit. It's probably not dry. Hopefully it is. It's not fully dry. So we'll cover that up a bit. And we'll go ahead and just use the rest of this up since we have it here. Okay, I'm liking it. And here's what we're gonna do here. Let me get a different brush. I'll show you how we're gonna take this edge off here. We're just gonna wet this and tear it instead of cutting it. It gives it a little bit of a more organic finish on the edge of that tissue. I like that. I have cut this out from the deli, but I am not going to brush over this because I've done that before and ruined my work. I am only going to put the matte medium on the back side, and then I may come back and go over the edges a little bit, but I don't want this to be perfect. I don't want it to be totally perfectly glued down anyway. I kind of like the imperfection of this page. There's some messiness to it. I do want to glue, or I do want it to, you know, stay in here, obviously, but I think I can make that happen just by catching a few of these edges. And once that dries, it's going to be glued down. It's not going to go anywhere. And I think that looks pretty good. The only other thing that I'm gonna do is take a Stabilo All and kind of emphasize this a little bit. Again, in a very imperfect way. Kind of make those lines disappear into the background a little bit more. And we'll take that over here. Again, just to kind of give it a little bit of balance. See, I've got this kind of messy look here. And then we're just gonna draw the eye from one side to the other, like that. So here is the finished page. And I am very happy with that. I love that I've used a few of the pieces that I've made in this March printing challenge with my Gelli plate. And I'm gonna put a date on here somewhere so I'll know that I made this in March. Thank you for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this little journal with me and that you enjoyed seeing some of the prints that I've made with the March printing challenge for Gelli Arts. I hope that you'll subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Come back again. Thank you.